My name is Levi Romero. I am originally from the Embudo Valley, Dixon, but I've lived for almost 30 years now consecutively in the South Valley of Albuquerque. I am an associate professor in the Chicana and Chicano Studies department at the University of New Mexico, and I also happen to be the inaugural New Mexico State Poet Laureate. Programs like Chicana and Chicano Studies are important because they acknowledge our existence in ways that, especially for those students that are entering college, have never had the opportunity to explore their own culture, for example, or to even know about it or learn about it, or to find a way in which they can share the richness of their culture. And we spend so much time in school learning about other people's histories, other people's cultures. And so the challenge is like, how do we turn the camera back on ourselves and celebrate who we are? And programs like Chicana and Chicano Studies give us the skills and the tools, the inspiration to be able to do that. I actually started off working in the architecture profession as a draftsman, and then went on to UNM and got my 2 degrees in architecture. But meantime, beginning since from middle school, I was writing poetry, but I was a closet poet. I wrote poetry, but I didn't share it with anyone. It wasn't like a cool thing for a young vato to be writing poems. And so I was writing all these poems, but I wasn't sharing them with anyone. In high school, I had an amazing, wonderful teacher by the name of Mrs. Rutassel. And she was kind of like the one that really encouraged me and nurtured me and became really like my first audience. After a few semesters in architecture school, I decided I want to take a creative writing class. So I signed up for a creative writing class, poetry class, and I continued then writing and just kind of writing for my own self, and kind of one thing led to another. Eventually I got published, and then I got invited to be a visiting writer in the creative writing program at UNM. And I started doing that, and I fell in love with that. And I said, this is really what I want to do for the rest of my life. Being selected as an inaugural New Mexico Poet Laureate was a really big honor. But for me, it also carried a sense of obligation and responsibility to represent the voices across New Mexico. Other poets, again, storytellers, people that don't have a podium, that don't have a voice, that don't have an opportunity to express themselves. And so being inaugural New Mexico State Poet Laureate for me was not as much about it representing me, but about how I could represent others. Growing up in New Mexico is the kind of place that really is about stories, and listening to stories is important, knowing how to listen to stories. When I say knowing, it's not like there's a right way or a wrong way about it, but when you become a writer, it is certainly something that I think that benefit from, in terms of like opening up your mind, your ears, your heart to people's stories. And so I couldn't help but grow up around storytellers. The greatest storytellers in my life were people that didn't particularly even read or write, but they were the most amazing storytellers. And I really tried to take, what they did and how they did it and apply it to what I do as a writer. One of my favorite poems is Los Heroes, which is really like looking back at those people that were heroes in my life when I was a young kid. And I didn't want to grow up to be a doctor or a lawyer or someone like that. I wanted to be someone like the guys in my neighborhood who were none of those things and yet carried themselves with such honor and dignity. And that's who I wanted to be, the guys that didn't do good in school but could dismantle and put a car together, an engine, since they were 12 years old. I guess if there's one thing that I would like people to know is that the amazing things that I've been able to do and accomplishments have not been because of who I am and what I do, but because there's always been people around me that believed in me. believed in me more than I believed in myself. And I think that everybody has those kinds of people around them. And you have to open yourself up to that, to those people that are trying to help you out.